Tonight, reimagining a tourist hub under a major downtown highway.
We got to get smarter about how we're using our kind of leftover space. It's precious.
From art to retail, we'll show you the future of the space under the Gardiner in the downtown.
And it was determined that there was a bolt issue holding down the center power rail.
Plus, derailment determination, why bolts are now being blamed on the off-the-rails incident this summer that led to the early closure of the Scarborough RT.
Very upset, very annoyed, sort of at wit's end.
And warranty whiplash, how a car owner says he's on the hook for $20,000 after installing an anti-theft device. Good evening, I'm Chris Glover. We're going to start tonight at the space underneath the Gardiner Expressway. And for decades, it has been criticized as a neglected spot right in the heart of the downtown. But in recent years, a transformation has begun to turn the area known as the Bentway into a hub for tourists and locals alike. Tonight, we got a tour of some of the ambitious plans to convert the 6.5-kilometer stretch into pathways for pedestrians and cyclists with lots of art installations and modern amenities. Anam Khan has more on the push to change the area from forgotten to functional.
Thousands of people hop on the Gardiner daily, while the area below the highway is generally barren and unused. Now, a new plan aims to change that.
The downtown core has densified so much over the past decades and is only getting more dense. We need street-level solutions for pedestrians and cyclists. So we're envisioning an under Gardiner path that has a common identity.
The Bentway Conservancy is a charitable organization working to transform 6.5 kilometers under the highway into a functional space. The goal is to have it be pedestrian and cycle-friendly, with art installations, public washrooms, Wi-Fi, and charging stations, even retail space. It's called the Public Realm, running from Dufferin Street all the way to the DVP.
They have so many cool ideas, and it makes me excited to see what's going to happen.
We got to get smarter about how we're using our kind of leftover space. It's precious.
The goal is to remove barriers to the waterfront and become a city hub connected to main attractions. The building blocks supporting the raised highway are called bents, leading to the name of the space. And designers want to number each bent across the stretch for easy navigation. And those behind the project say it's not just about infrastructure.
It's about looking at the world around us, taking stock of the conditions that might be challenging, and sort of leaning into making them better.
The Bentway Conservancy is feeling optimistic about the project, especially after the success of the skate park under the Gardiner that launched 5 years ago. The city approved the plan in 2016 and hopes to complete it by 2030 using funds from philanthropists and the city.
What this opportunity presents is another way to unlock public space and green space.
The project will be done in phases. The first phase will be from Dufferin to Yonge, and the second will be all the way to the DVP. Anam Khan, CBC News, Toronto.
To Scarborough now, where transit investigators say they figured out what caused a derailment of the RT this past July. You'll remember it led to the aging transit line's closure ahead of schedule this summer. Dale Manukduk explains what the TTC now thinks went wrong and provides an update on what's replacing it.
You see the banner behind me here at Scarborough Town Center saying farewell to Line 3. They just had that ceremony on Saturday saying goodbye to the Scarborough RT. It was set to be decommissioned in November, but those plans moved ahead after July 24th when the rear car of a train separated from the rest of the vehicle, derailed, sending 5 people to hospital with minor injuries. Now, an investigation was quickly launched into this derailment, and today we found out the cause of it was anchor failures to what's called a reaction rail due to loose or broken bolts. While in service, the Scarborough RT did have visual inspections done every 72 hours. However, the bolts could not be seen from the angle in which those inspections are conducted. TTC CEO Rick Leary says this is an example of the need for proper funding.
You saw that today we brought in specialists, right, to help with the investigation, and it was determined that there was a bolt issue holding down the center power rail, correct? So we know that, but it still comes down to infrastructure, old infrastructure. It's 13 years beyond its full useful life.
The decommissioning of Line 3 was done for the construction of the Scarborough subway extensions. Construction has already begun. Replacing it is a network of increased bus service. At the moment, there are temporary bus lanes, but those will be replaced by permanent red-painted bus-only lanes. by November. Now, construction is expected to be done for the Scarborough subway extension by 2030 at the earliest.
There would have been a 7-stop LRT built in 2015 if politicians hadn't gotten in the way of progress. And what we've been left with was a dangerous RT before it was decommissioned.
The decision to decommission the line was made without the knowledge of those bolts being loose or broken. It was made in order to give riders more certainty. A more fulsome report of the derailment is due in the coming weeks. Dale Manukduk, CBC News, Toronto.
An update tonight on those closures around the provincial legislature this morning. Police shut down the roads around Queen's Park after learning of a possible convoy-style protest that never ended up materializing.
My understanding is that the demonstrators are part of the Save the Children protest group.
So after hours of closures, no demonstrators came and the roads were reopened just before noon. Police told reporters they had information that anticipated demonstrations today as part of the protests that hit the legislative grounds last week. Those demonstrations were framed around gender and sexual education in schools, but nothing ended up happening today, though police said they would continue to monitor the area for any disruptions. All right, so no demonstrations at Queen's Park today, but certainly lots of action inside the building as the Ford government continued to face a grilling about the Integrity Commissioner's report on the Greenbelt land swap deal. Even though the Premier backtracked on his plans to allow housing on what had been protected land, the opposition showed no signs of letting up today. There were even new calls for an investigation into the government's other development plans, including the proposed Highway 413. Lorenda Redekop has the latest on the political showdown.
Today, the NDP pounced on what really happened in Vegas at this hotel back in 2020.
To the Premier, when did he first find out that his minister was living it up in Vegas with people who have business before his government?
The now former cabinet minister, Khalid Rashid, was there with the Premier's then principal secretary. At first, the pair incorrectly told the Integrity Commissioner the trip was in late 2019. They also reported only briefly encountering developer Shakir Rehmatullah. CTV later reported the three men got massages and mani-pedis at the same time.
Should the people of Ontario accept that government policy was being decided on a massage table in Vegas?
The housing minister said it's not up to the Premier to clear Rashid. He resigned from the PCs and now sits as an independent.
The person that she's talking about is no longer a member of this caucus, Mr. Speaker. That person will have to work with the Integrity Commissioner to ensure that all of the documentation that he requires is made available.
Stiles plans to ask the Integrity Commissioner to investigate. The Liberals want to look into the government's other development plans, including Highway 413, to see if there's a pattern of favoring developers.
We're going to keep talking about this. Sometimes you hope to get to it the next week or the next month. It might take a year.
In question period, the Premier said the Integrity Commissioner cleared him and his office, then pivoted to housing, the topic his government wants to be talking about.
Build homes for new Canadians, build home for young families that come here that can't afford it.
But opposition parties are trying any method they can to keep talking about the Greenbelt plans. Today, the NDP leader asked for the Speaker to require two of the big developers that were set to cash in to testify. But she needed unanimous consent.
Agreed? Agreed. I heard a no.
No surprise, the government said no. That exercise mainly political theater, as opposition parties look for any way to keep the issue alive. Lorenda Redekop, CBC News, Toronto.
Here's a live look for you right now of our beautiful city. 17 degrees and cloudy this evening. Colette is away tonight, but don't worry. Victor Paulo has weather covered for us and a nice stretch to be talking about, Victor.
Chris, hope you're having yourself a great night and everyone at the GTA. Now, a couple of good headlines I have for everyone is we do have some sunny days ahead of us when it comes to this week. We do have some warmer nights as well, and 14 degrees tonight will be one of the cooler nights that we're going to be having over the next 7 days. Now, we do have a sunny weekend ahead. What's that going to look like? Stay tuned for the 3- and 7-day forecast. We'll let you know more. Now, the reason it's going to be pretty cool and when it comes to the overnights, it's getting much warmer is because not a lot of cloud cover. Not a lot of cloud cover means that when it comes to the overnights, Not a lot of clouds to insulate that heat, but when it comes to the daytime, means there's not a lot of clouds blocking all of the sun's rays. So the reason all of that is going to result into some sunny mornings like we do have for tomorrow morning, where it's going to be 14 degrees when your little ones are getting ready for school. Definitely want to make sure they get layered up because it will be getting warm. How warm will it be? Well, it's going to be a high of 18 degrees on Wednesday. It's going to be a high of 18 degrees on Thursday. And as we get towards the weekend, we've got a 20 and 22 lined up. Make sure you stay tuned to Chris and I to see what else is in store for your 7-day forecast and what Sunday and Monday have in store. Over to you.
What a beauty weekend looking like. All right, thanks, Victor. An update tonight on a Rogers outage you may have been caught up in if you're in the city's East End. Service has now been restored for the majority of approximately 10,000 customers. Residential consumers in the Don Mills, Thorncliffe Park, and Upper Beaches areas of Toronto were dealing with outages for internet, TV, and home phone services since yesterday. A spokesperson for Rogers says the outage was caused by a fiber cable being cut by third-party construction near Eglinton and the DVP. While the majority of the 10,000 customers have seen service restored as of this evening, restoration work is expected to continue into the night for the remaining households. Rogers will be proactively applying a 3-day credit to those affected, and no action is required to receive that credit. To sports now, and over to the Rogers Centre and the race for a wild card spot. The Blue Jays are back home, kicking off a 3-game series with the Yankees.
Fastball hit to left and hit pretty well. Varsho back, and it is gone.
After 8 scoreless innings, Austin Wells smashes a 2-run homer in the 9th to take this one. The Jays have only 5 games remaining in the regular season, and they've got to win 3 of those games to clinch a playoff spot. A brand new patient support center is opening this week at the Hospital for Sick Children. Like many Ontario hospitals, Sick Kids has had a difficult time since the pandemic retaining burnt out and overworked staff. The hospital hopes the new center will go a long way in helping empower and honor its workers. And the official ribbon cutting ceremony is Thursday, but CBC Toronto was the only broadcaster in town to get a special tour of the facility ahead of time. Forget what you thought you knew about a medical training facility. Toronto's Hospital for Sick Children teamed up with kids to design an eye-catching art installation in the lobby and so many other unique touches at its brand new patient support center.
So I think it's important to stress that this isn't just an ordinary office building.
The hospital's chief medical officer says roughly 3,000 staff members will begin relocating to the 22-story education, training, and administrative towers starting next month.
And the space is set up just like a hospital room would be set up. So you've got a head wall here that has active gases.
Complete with 2-way glass mirrors and souped up with cameras, trainers will use simulation suites to help staff. A new bridge physically connects the hospital to the new Learning and Research Center.
This allows people from the hospital to come over just in time, get some training to tackle a particularly difficult case, go back over to the hospital.
A rooftop terrace is meant to provide a break and some tranquility amid some of the most challenging medical surgeries in the country.
Not just offices, workstations, those traditional types of settings. We wanted to create a fun, engaging space for the organization and for the people using the space.
Architecture firm B+H says the project started in 2018 and contains multiple unique touches that the hospital's children helped with.
We gave them the idea of what do you think of, what other words you think of when you think of joy, and so the words were like inspiration and bravery and courage. So we put those translated those words into actual light fixtures in cursive, and so those were installed in the elevator lobbies.
The center also has spaces designed for families to learn how to treat and care for their recovering children. The Patient Support Center is the first phase of Sick Kids' multi-year transformation project with an eye toward the future of medicine.
Whether it's augmented reality, virtual reality, or things we haven't even heard of. We think that AI is going to be a big part of the future of learning, and we've built that in terms of the flexibility to accommodate that in years to come.
We're tracking breaking news just coming into the newsroom tonight from North York, where a firefighter has been seriously injured while responding to a 3-alarm house fire. The fire chief attending the scene tonight, and he provided this update.
During the course of both search and rescue and firefighting operations, one of our firefighters tonight sustained a significant fall from height. I believe he fell into the basement of the home under construction. That, of course, results immediately in what we refer to as the declaration of Mayday. Our crews were able to get to him quickly. They were able to secure him, rescue him from the home that was involved in fire, and transfer him quickly to awaiting Toronto paramedics.
The fire broke out at the home near Willowdale and Cummer Avenues, and thankfully the firefighters' injuries are reported to be non-life-threatening. Now, no one else was injured, and the fire is under control. What caused it is still under investigation. We have an update tonight to a story CBC Toronto first brought you last week about a certified inheritance check worth more than $300,000 that got lost in the mail. The certified check went missing in July after it was sent by registered mail from George Cavaratsis's home in Campbellford, Ontario, to his brother's place south of Sherbrooke, Quebec. When CBC Toronto first reported the story, TD Bank had said it would reissue a new check to the brothers, but only on the condition that they would be held liable if somebody else found and cashed the check. Well, tonight, a major update. Louis Cavaratsis says Canada Post called him to say the vanished inheritance check had been located. It was apparently found behind a drawer at a local post office in Quebec. Now to another CBC Toronto exclusive. This one may have you rethinking installing anti-theft devices on your car. A North York couple is facing a massive repair bill after putting an ignition locking device on their new Lexus. Angelina King explains.
Earlier this month, someone tries stealing Mitchell Levine's Toyota Highlander from his North York driveway. Twice. After about 10 minutes, the suspect flees without the vehicle. Levine credits an ignition locking device he'd had installed.
It's basically a kill switch.
In the last 16 months, Levine and his wife have had 2 vehicles stolen and 2 attempted thefts. So when they bought their new Lexus this summer, they got a very similar ignition lock system installed that had saved their Highlander. But trying to protect their SUV has turned into a costly problem and a fight with the dealership. Levine says even before the anti-theft device was installed, the new SUV was having issues with locking and starting. After the device was installed, he says the issue got worse.
So we had the car towed to the dealership.
Levine says the dealership told him the ignition locking device caused wiring damage and had to be removed before technicians could fix the vehicle. It also told him his warranty was being canceled. The estimate for the fix, $20,000.
It's not just in our back pocket or in our savings account.
In a statement, Toyota Canada told CBC Toronto, things like aftermarket security devices don't usually void a warranty, but in this case, 2 different Lexus dealers found that a third party damaged the vehicle's wire harness during their attempted installation of an accessory. But the technician who installed the device is adamant it wasn't his fault, saying Lexus dealership technicians damaged the wiring while trying to troubleshoot the problem.
In an average, we are installing anti-theft systems between 40 to 50 a week. I've been doing that for 7 years, and we never had any issues.
Ronan Yosef also says dealerships turn to his company frequently to have the ignition locks installed before new owners even pick up their car.
Customers are afraid of even taking the cars home without having the system installed in their car.
Levine doesn't blame Yosef for the problem. He's the one who installed the device that ultimately saved his Highlander. Now Levine is left with an expensive bill, no warranty, no ignition lock, and a partially fixed but unprotected car.
Very upset, very annoyed, sort of at wit's end. We're wondering whether the car's going to be stolen from the driveway.
Because just last week, someone tampered with the door handle. Angelina King, CBC News, Toronto.
Back to Victor with more on the beautiful stretch of weather coming our way. Victor?
Chris, if you're a big fan of walking dogs or taking little puppies out for strolls, the next couple of days are going to be perfect ones for that. Reason I do say so, if you do look at the map of North America, it's above seasonal temperatures all the way from Alberta, Saskatchewan, Manitoba, northwestern Ontario, and all the way down to home right here in the southeast of Ontario. Warmer temperatures means that when it comes to the daytime highs, it's going to be a lot warmer than 18 degrees because 18 degrees is the current average high this time of year. We're going to be floating closer to the mid-20s, low 20s over the next 7-day stretch. Stay tuned to a 3 and 7 day to see exactly what that looks like. Now, when it comes to rain and how much rain we're going to be expecting over the GTA and the surrounding areas of southeastern Ontario, well, as you can see, no rain is in store, which is fabulous if you're looking to spend some time outdoors. When it comes to tonight, it's going to be some pretty clear skies, and it will be 14 degrees. 14 degrees is around the mid-teens, a little bit above seasonal, but the good news is it's not too chilly. It's a great night if you want to go out for a late night run. Maybe it gets a little bit of fresh air, take your dogs out for a walk late night. It won't be too chilly, but you want to make sure you keep that pace up so you keep yourselves warm. Now, when it comes to the weather, when it comes to what we're expecting, when it comes to precipitation, you can see a lot of that happening over the Midwest, over in Chicago. You see all those storms building up. But the good news is the way they're rotating and the way the systems are moving, it's going to keep us clear of any kind of rain. We're going to get a bit of cloud cover, but as you get closer to the weekend, you can see the clouds start to dissipate. And the good news is that means we're going to be able to experience more sunshine the closer we get to that weekend. Now, speaking of the weekend weather, we're talking about how it's going to be getting increasingly warmer. Well, the reason it's going to be getting warmer, if you take a look at our 3 and 7 day forecast, when it comes to Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, you can see it's going to be 18, 18, and a 20. The lows are remaining the same at 14 degrees, but here's the best part. When it comes to your Saturday, Sunday, Monday, and Tuesday, you can see that it's going to be a 22-degree high on Saturday, 25-degree high on Sunday, and look at that 27 on Monday, followed up by 23 on Tuesday. So the good news is we've got more sunny weather ahead. It almost feels like summer's back for a little bit of a brief visit, but we'll take those sunny days any day we can. Hope you all have a great night, and over to you, Chris.
My goodness, 27 degrees into October, looking pretty nice. That's our show for you tonight. Thanks so much for watching. I'll see you back here tomorrow night at 11. Have a great night, everyone.